Welcome to Amazon Academy. I'm Vipul Mehta. How are you guys? Hi NK. What is your name? First. So, I have come earlier than what the time is. So, just to speak to you guys. Hi NK. What's your name? What we are going to do in today's lecture, we are going to start with thermodynamics. We will be having around 10 lectures for this whole session, and I will cover the intricacies of thermodynamics. We will go very slow. In case you have any doubts, you can definitely ask me anytime. Just pause me and you can ask your doubts too. Okay. The idea behind this micro course is for people who have just finished class 11 and don't have the fundamentals clear. Okay. So when I say don't have the fundamentals clear, by that I mean that there are some reasons by which they were not able to clear the fundamentals, or there was some kind of backlog, and the chapters which we are going to cover in this micro course will be the chapters like thermodynamics, GOC, are those chapters which basically lay the foundation of a lot of topics in class 12th. Okay, so I hope it is going to be useful. And one thing which I've observed over the years is, as a student, in 11th class, what happens is a lot of people don't pay attention or don't know how serious this examination is, and then they lose a lot of time. So you have to take it like a second chance, in which you are given an opportunity to cover up, an opportunity to make up for the lost ground. And this is the whole idea and the philosophy behind these courses. Okay, so without further ado, let's start. So we are going to study thermodynamics lecture number 1. For people who don't know me, I am Vipul Mehta, BTech, IIT Bombay. In case you have Physical Chemistry by Wiley Publication, I am the author of that book. Hi SA, what's your name? Write your names please. It's very easy for me to communicate then. The communication language for this lecture will be English, but in case you have any doubt, even in Hindi, you can ask. I will respond in the language. Okay. So I don't think that is going to be a problem. We have one more class which is similar to this, which is exactly the same class but in English. Okay. So this is for the crowd who has some difficulty in understanding English. So this is primarily in English only. Okay. Uh, some best practices: join the class on time, make sure that you see the complete lecture. In case you miss any lecture, you can see the recordings before you come to the class. All these lectures are recorded. You will also get a PDF of the class. Revise the previous class topics before coming to the class. Be polite in general with your peers, with your teachers, everyone. Don't spam. Don't use any kind of uncivilized language. If you will see near the chat option, there is a My Doubts tab. In the My Doubts tab, basically you can ask any question which is related to academics without disturbing the class and the flow of the class. Okay, guys. In case you are watching this lecture on your laptop, you can use Chrome or Firefox. In case you are using your mobile, you can use Android mobile version 6 or above. Make sure that your internet speed is greater than equal to 5 Mbps, so that you have the smooth experience. Okay. The idea behind this course is it is ideal for grade 11. We have identified that there are few chapters which are very essential in building the foundation. I am starting from basics. Yes, NK. What is your name, NK? Write your name. We are basically planning to cover everything from basics. So especially for 11 to 12th moving students, we know that GOC, hi Nitin, GOC and thermodynamics are the two chapters which are very fundamental, and these are the chapters which basically a lot of people don't understand, and there are some difficult chapters. So we will be covering everything from basics. There will also be doubt classes for covering the queries which are related to these chapters. Shall we proceed, guys? All set? All ready? All ready, Nitin? All set, guys? Okay, ready. Let's start. So today we are going to study thermodynamics, the basic definitions, what are intensive and extensive properties, what are state functions, what are path functions, what are reversible, irreversible processes, what are some different types of processes, what is zeroth law of thermodynamics, what is first law of thermodynamics, and what are the sign conventions which we are going to use. Okay, essay, what is your name? So we are going to cover all these things in the lecture today. Hard problems, see, I don't think any problem, Nitin, is difficult or easy. If you know the fundamentals, every problem is easy. Okay, so try and focus on the fundamentals. Okay, shall we start? Okay, let's start. So if I ask you what is thermodynamics basic definitions, so for example, thermo means heat, dynamics means change. So basically by change in heat we can actually conclude a lot of things. And when I say by change in heat we can conclude a lot of things, by that I mean that uh, for example, let's say this is one marker and this is Sai Sharandeep. Hi Sai Sharandeep. So for example, this is the marker on which I want to do thermodynamic study. So I have to define which part of the universe I am doing the thermodynamic study on, and that is known as system. So for example, if you are sitting in the room, right, and you can define that this room is my system, then we are going to do all the thermodynamic study in the system as your room. So first and the most important thing is you have to define what is a system. So that is part of universe which is under thermodynamic study. So for example, if I say that this is the part of universe which is under thermodynamic study, so this is known as system. Clear? This is clear to everyone? If I ask you what is surrounding, surrounding is nothing but if you take the complete universe except the system, you will be left with surrounding. So the universe minus system is surrounding. So basically in this case, this is the surrounding. So in your case, if you are taking the room in which you are sitting right now as your system, then everything in the universe except that room is surrounding. Are we clear? Hi Aditya. No worries, no worries. I will just repeat it for you because you're not late by more than 5 minutes. Okay. So basically, Aditya, what we have discussed is the part of universe which we are doing thermodynamic study is known as system. For example, in the room in which you are sitting, if you define that as the system, that is your system, and everything in the universe except your room will be surrounding. Are we clear? Aditya, Sai, Nitin, all clear, guys? Shall we proceed? Shall we proceed? Now I am using the pink marker to draw this line. Can you see this line? So the pink marker which I am using, basically this is the boundary. So what do you mean by boundary? This is boundary. What do you mean by boundary? A boundary separates system from surrounding. Okay. So for example, the room in which you are sitting, let's say there is a door. If the door is actually present, it is a real boundary. If the door is not present, then I will say it is a virtual boundary. If the door is present but it is open, it is open boundary. If the door is closed, it is a closed boundary. Another thing, if the heat between your room and the surrounding can be transferred, it is known as diathermal. What do you mean by diathermal? Diathermal means heat transfer is possible. What do you mean by adiabatic? No heat transfer is possible. So for example, if I say that the heat can transfer between system and surrounding, then I will say the boundary is diathermal. If the heat cannot transfer between system and surrounding, then it is known as adiabatic. Any doubts till now? Okay, now I am asking you a simple question. Okay, let's say I am giving you a cup of tea. This is a cup of tea. Just a second. This is a cup of tea. And let's say this is your system and there is tea inside it. Okay. So now everything other than the system is surrounding. So what will happen? The tea will vaporize. So basically, if I say this is system and this is surrounding, can I say that between system and surrounding, can I say that the mass is transferred? Yes or no? The mass is exchanged, because if you will leave this cup like this, the vapors will evaporate and the amount of tea present in this cup will decrease. Yes or no? Yes or no? Right? Right? Also, will this tea get cold? Yes, it will get cold. So can I say that the energy is also transferred between system and surrounding? Yes. So these type of systems in which I can say that the energy as well as mass is transferred are known as open systems. So this is open system. Suppose I put a plate on this cup. I put a plate on this cup. Now this is your system. This is your surrounding. So can the vapor escape the cup now? No. So the mass transfer between system and surrounding is not possible. But will the cup even get cold now? Yes. So energy transfer is still possible. Yes or no? This is known as we will have KE, we will have, okay, don't worry. This is known as closed system. Now suppose you become a great engineer and you make a thermos. This is a thermos. The thermos is closed and this is an ideal thermos, perfectly isolated. And you have tea inside it. This is system and this is surrounding. So can the mass be transferred now? No. Now since it is ideal, the tea will remain hot completely, always. So there will be no energy transfer. It's perfectly insulated. So this type is known as insulated system. Are we clear? Now can you tell me what is the type of boundary in this case? First case, open system. Is it real or is it virtual? I will say it's a virtual boundary. Is it open or is it closed? It is open. Is it diathermal or is it adiabatic? Heat can transfer, so this is diathermal. So I will have virtual, open and diathermal boundary. If I ask you in this case, what will happen? Is the system real or virtual? It is real. The boundary is real. Is it closed? Yes. Can the heat be transferred? Yes. So this is real, closed and diathermal boundary. Not adiabatic. AM, Aditya, no. It's still getting energy, is still transferred, right? Can you tell me in this one? Is it real? Yes. Is it closed? Yes. Is the heat transferred? No. So it is adiabatic. Everyone is clear till now? Let me know. Is this clear to everyone? Is this clear to anyone? Any doubt? Aditya? Sai? Nitin? Perfect, perfect, perfect. Shall we proceed? Okay, perfect. Now the question is, what is state of a system? Can you tell me what is state of system? Anyone? If I ask you about state of system, can you tell me what is state of a system? SL, that is phase, not state. Nitin, solid, liquid, gas is phase of a system, not state. State of a system is nothing but pressure, volume, and temperature of a system. Hi Lakshman. If any one of P, V, T changes, state changes. Is it clear to everyone? Is it clear to everyone? Yes or no? So for example, if I say, let's say this is state 1, and for simplification let the pressure be P1, volume be V1, and temperature be T1. I can change even pressure and it will be a new state, but let's say for simplification I am saying this is state 2. This is pressure P2, volume V2, temperature T2. Now there are multiple ways of achieving this. This is path 1. This is path 2. This is path 3. So for example, I am standing here and my friend is standing here. So I can go by bike, I can take a bus, I can take a train. Right? So they are different paths. Each path corresponds to a different process. So for example, this can be isobaric, this can be isochoric, this can be isothermal. Everyone is clear till now? Each path corresponds to a process. Everyone is clear till now? Any doubt? Is it fine? Shall we proceed, guys? Lakshman, Sai, Aditya, Nitin. Shall we proceed, guys? Perfect. So, what is a state function? Those functions whose value will depend on initial and final state only. They are independent of path taken. Now let me explain this to you. Let's say this is state 1. Let's say it is P1, V1, T1. Let's say this is state 2. This is P2, V2, T2. Okay, there are two states. Now let's say this is path 1. Let's say this is part 2, and let's say this is path 3. So when I talk about state function, they will only depend on the initial state and the final state. Just like displacement. Displacement will be same in all these cases, yes or no? Because displacement only depends upon initial and final state, yes or no? So for state functions, it will only depend upon the initial and the final value. So basically state function the value will be same across path 1, path 2 and path 3. Are we clear about this? The value will be same across path 1, path 2 and path 3. Now suppose I ask you a simple question, tell me the answer to this question. Suppose I draw a PV curve, okay, and I draw a cycle, okay. Now this is the initial point. I take a complete cycle and I reach the same point. What will be the value of the state function? So basically I'm adding this state, so adding means integration across the cycle. Cycle means cyclic integral of any d of any state function. What will be the value? Tell me. D means change. What will be the value? Now the initial and the final position is same. Yes or no? So can you tell me what will be the value of state function? What will be the displacement for this? Tell me. If you start from this point and you take the complete path and come to the same point again, what will be the displacement? 0? Yes or no? So any state function across a cycle, if you integrate it, the value will be 0. So what are some examples of state functions? So examples will be, you can have internal energy, you can have enthalpy, you can have entropy. We will study all these in details. All these are state functions. So if I say cyclic integral of du across a complete cycle will be 0. Cyclic integral of dh will be 0. Cyclic integral of ds will be 0. Cyclic integral of dg across a cycle will be 0. Are we clear? Because all of them are state functions. If I give you a path function on the contrary, it will depend on the path taken. Okay, so for example, if I say work or if I say heat, they are path functions. Just to give you an example, let's say someone gives you a punishment. This is the starting point, okay, and he asks you to take a complete circle. This is path 1. Okay, you have to run in this complete circle, okay, and there is your friend who runs in this path. The initial point is and final point is same in both the cases. This is part 2. Who will get more tired? The person who's running on the blue path or the person who's running on the yellow path? Who will get more tired? So you have to run a complete track. The initial position is same, the final position is same. Who will get more tired? The person who's running on the blue path or the person who's running on the yellow path? Obviously the person who's running on the yellow path is covering a shorter distance. He will be less tired. So basically work is different in different cases. Yes or no? Obviously blue will get more tired because the work will be more. So can I say that they are dependent on the path taken? Yes or no? Similarly, if you run a complete circle, are you doing some kind of work? Do you get tired? Or is the work 0? If you run in a complete circle, do you get tired, right? It's not that your work is not 0, your work is there. So basically, if you take the cyclic integral of work, it is not equal to 0. So for example, if I take integration of work in this whole cycle, it will not be 0. Obviously, it's like distance. If I start from this point and cover this whole path, there is some distance traveled. Displacement is 0. So treat path function like distance. Are we clear till now? Obviously, U, H, S, G, work, heat are all these things which we are going to cover. So don't worry about that. Shall we proceed, guys? Shall we proceed? Now there is something which is known as intensive and extensive properties. What are intensive properties? They are independent of mass. What are extensive properties? They are dependent on mass. Simply put, they are not additive. We will just understand it. Why? What do you mean by not additive? And they are additive. For example, if I give you mass, okay, so I just make a small box. If the mass here is m1, mass here is m2, mass here is m3, mass here is m4, can I say that total mass is m1 plus m2 plus m3 plus m4? Yes or no? So it is additive, so it is extensive. But for example, if I take density, so if let's say density of this part is d1, we will understand it as a state function. Don't worry about it. We will completely understand what enthalpy is. Don't worry. As of now, just remember that when we are going to study enthalpy, I will prove it also. Don't worry about it. As of now, just take it as an example. Okay. This is d2, this is d3, this is d4. Can I say that total density is d1 plus d2 plus d3 plus d4? Can you do such a thing? No. So it is not additive. So density cannot be added. Suppose I give you volume. Can you tell me what volume is? Extensive or intensive? What is volume? Extensive or intensive? So if I take volume, let's say this is V1, this is V2, this is V3, this is V4. Can I add the volumes? Yes, I can. So can I say it is extensive? Can you tell me what heat will be? Heat is extensive or intensive? Can you tell me what heat will be? Extensive or intensive? Heat. So if I take heat, intensive. Okay, let's check. This is 2 kilojoule, this is 3 kilojoule, this is 4 kilojoule, this is 5 kilojoule. Can I add the heats? You obviously add the heats, right? Heat is additive. So it is extensive. Very good. Okay, I'll give you another example. Okay. I define heat capacity. What is heat capacity? Heat required to raise temperature by 1 degree Celsius. Intensive. Okay, I will prove it to you now. Okay, so for example, if there is a log of wood, it is 5 kg. So heat required for 5 kg, okay, the heat required to raise the temperature of 5 kg is, let's say, heat capacity is X. So if I take a log of 10 kg, what will be heat capacity? Tell me. What is heat capacity in this case? So I'm saying heat required to raise the temperature by 1 degree Celsius. In this case, it is 5 kg. Yes or no? In this case, is it 5 kg? No, it is 10 kg. So the heat will be more, it will be 2x. So it will depend upon amount of substance taken. That is specific heat capacity Ke. Wrong information. So heat capacity is extensive. Okay. But if I give you specific heat capacity, what is specific heat capacity? Heat required to raise temperature of 1 gram or 1 mole, it can be per unit mole also, of substance by 1 degree Celsius. So for example, now if I take a 5 kg log and I say that the specific heat capacity is equal to X, can I say for 10 kg log, can you tell me what will be the specific heat capacity? Can you tell me what will be the specific heat capacity for 10 kg log? If it is for 5 kg, it is X. What will be the value for 10 kg? So it is per unit mass, right? So it will be X again. So it is independent of mass taken, because it is per unit mass. So can I say that this will be intensive? Okay, KE, you got your answer now? You understood the confusion? Are we clear? KE, you understood what your mistake was? Heat capacity is extensive, specific heat capacity is intensive. For that matter, if anything is per unit mass or per unit mole, it will always be intensive. Yes or no? Because it is independent of mass taken, it will always be per unit mass. Are we clear, guys? Any doubts? Any doubts? Clear. Okay, I'm asking you a question now. Tell me the answer to this question. Okay. I say that if the pressure is P1, P2 here, P3 here and P4 here, I can say that pressure is P1 plus P2 plus P3 plus P4. It is correct or not? So pressure is intensive or extensive? Tell me. Pressure is intensive or extensive? This is according to Dalton's law, right? Is this according to Dalton's law? Extensive, right? This is not correct. Dalton's law is not stating this. Dalton's law states that if there are multiple gases, pressure of gas 1 plus pressure of gas 2 is equal to P total. This Dalton's law. Nitin, tell me one thing. You are sitting in the room right now. What is the atmospheric pressure acting on you? Nitin, tell me. What is the atmospheric pressure acting on you as of now? You are sitting in a room. 1 atm. What is the atmospheric pressure in the room nearby? 1 atm. If you open the door, is the pressure 1 atm plus 1 atm 2 atm? If that was the case, you must have been crushed every time you open a door. Thankfully, that doesn't happen. Pressure cannot be added. So pressure of this room is 1 atm, pressure of the next room is 1 atm. If I open the door, then it should be 2 atm. Everyone should die on this earth. Okay, so this is the common mistake. Pressure people think is extensive. It is not. Pressure is, fortunately for us, pressure is extensive. No, pressure is intensive. Sometimes they can ask you some questions on the basis of this. All the intensive properties are proportional to mole to the power of 0. And all the extensive properties are proportional to moles to the power of 1. Okay. Okay. So if I ask you, can you tell me the first case? For example, if I ask you this question, is this true or false? So if it is intensive, it is moles to the power of 0 upon moles to the power of 0. So this will be moles to the power of 0. So this will be intensive. So this is incorrect. If I take the second question, it is moles to the power of 1 upon moles to the power of 0, which is moles to the power of 1. So it is extensive. So this is correct. If I take the third case, moles to the power of 0 into moles to the power of 0 is equal to moles to the power of 0. So this is intensive. This is correct. If I take the fourth case, it is moles to the power of 1 into moles to the power of 0, which is moles to the power of 1. So this is extensive. This is also correct. Is it clear to all of you now? Yes or no? So these are some questions you might find in some good books. Okay, I don't think this question will be given in any normal book. Any doubts till now? Any doubts till now? Shall we proceed? Now, what is a reversible and irreversible process? This is, I think, a very interesting concept. Okay. Let's say that there is a gas which is expanding. Okay. Let's say this is your system and this is your surrounding. Okay. So I am writing that this is P external and this is P gas. Okay. Now, if the gas is expanding, I will say that this has to go in this direction. This piston will go in this direction. Now, this is your system and this is your surrounding. Okay. Now, all of you tell me one thing. This marker is kept on my hand. What are the two forces acting on this marker? What are the two forces acting on this marker? What are the two forces acting on this marker? Normal reaction, mg downwards, and yes, so force applied by my hand is normal reaction upwards and mg downwards. Now, is the marker in equilibrium right now? Yes, I can say n is equal to mg, so it is not moving. Right? It is not moving. Now, let's say the normal reaction is slightly bigger. Let's say 0.000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000 1 times greater than mg. So what will happen? This marker will very slowly move upwards. Yes or no? This marker will very slowly move upwards. So mathematically, can I say, if this is going upwards, can I say that P gas will definitely be greater than P external? So I can write it like this. What I'm trying to say is, if this difference dP tend towards 0, I can say the process is reversible. This means that P gas is equal to P external at all points. This is a reversible process. So now tell me, if both of them are equal, it is as good as like it is not moving at all. Yes or no? Because it is in equilibrium always. So can I say, if system and surrounding are in equilibrium at all points? It will be moving very slowly, because it is like not moving at all. So can I say the process will be infinitesimally slow? Yes or no? Or effectively it is not moving at all. That is known as quasi static. Looks like it is not moving at all. Yes or no? So basically reversible process will be like they are not moving at all. Yes or no? Yes. So can you tell me what is an irreversible process? If P gas is not equal to P external at all points. So let's say there are 10,000 points, out of which out of 10,000, 9,999 points are the points at which P gas is equal to P external, and there is only one point where P gas is not equal to P external. It will be irreversible. Okay. So for example, if I ask you a simple question, sudden compression or sudden expansion, tell me, sudden compression. So when it is suddenly compressing, at that instant, what will happen? If it is compression, then P external will be P gas greater than P gas. So this equilibrium that they should be equal will break. So what will be this process? This process will be irreversible. If I say sudden expansion, so at that instant what will happen? At the instant of sudden expansion, P gas will be greater than P external. So again the equilibrium breaks. So again I can say the process is irreversible. Yes or no? Any doubts till now? So what you have to fundamentally remember is only this thing, that if it is reversible, then P gas is equal to P external at all points. Is it clear to everyone? Any doubts? Clear? Okay. Now, what are the other types of processes? This is pretty straightforward. Okay. So first is isobaric. So what do you mean by isobaric process? Pressure is constant. So if I say pressure is constant, I can say V1 by T1 is equal to V2 by T2. Simple. So when I say isobaric pressure is constant, if I draw a PV curve, how will the PV curve look like? It will be a straight line. Simple enough. Parallel to, if I say isochoric process, so if I say isochoric process, how will the curve look like? I will say volume is constant, right? So I can say P1 by T1 is equal to P2 by T2. तो ये हो जाएगा आपके पास प्रेशर P, ये हो जाएगा वॉल्यूम V. थर्ड इज आइसोथर्मल. because you cannot add it. Okay, pressure agar, if pressure was not intensive Ke, then everyone would die. And by the equation PV equal to nRT, how you can say pressure is intensive? When we add pressures, it is only because of a mixture of gases present. Okay, you can add partial pressures, not pressures. Ke, understand one thing, there is a difference between partial pressure and pressure. Okay, so isothermal means temperature is constant. So if I say temperature is constant, you will have something like this. This is P, this is V. Okay, and this will be a rectangular hyperbola. So if temperature is constant, the equation will be P1 V1 is equal to P2 V2. This is pretty straightforward. Another type of process is free expansion. What do you mean by free expansion? Free expansion means expansion pressure do depend on number of moles. No, pressure is a function of moles, temperature and volume, all three. Okay, KE, what you are doing is, if you are adding the pressure P1 and P2, if that happens, then all of us should die. Open the door and the pressure will add. Is it happening? Is V constant? No. Is T constant? No. So basically it's a function of actually N, V and T, all three. So if you will change the moles, V and T will accommodate automatically. Okay. Expansion against vacuum. So basically, what is vacuum? This means P external is equal to 0. We will prove in the classes to come that in these cases work will be 0. Okay. Another question which they might ask you is, what are adiabatic process? So adiabatic process is PV to the power of gamma is equal to constant. As I mentioned before, adiabatic means that heat or Q is equal to 0. There is no heat transfer. Now what is gamma? Gamma is known as Poisson's ratio, which is nothing but Cp by Cv. Now it is 1.66 if it is a monoatomic gas. For example, helium. It is 1.40 if it is a diatomic gas. For example, O2. And the value is 1.33 if it is polyatomic gas, let's say CO2. So for example, if I ask you that the pressure is P1, the volume is V1, I will give you an example. Pressure P1 is 1 atm, volume V1 is 1 liter, volume V2 is 8 liter. I am asking you what is pressure P2 if it is adiabatic process, and gamma is 1.66. So you will simply use P1 V1 to the power of gamma is equal to P2 V2 to the power of gamma. So I can say that P1, which is 1, into 1 by 8 to the power of 1.66 is equal to P2. Now suppose I want to find a relation between temperature and volume. That is also something which we can do. So for an ideal gas, what I can say? For ideal gas, P is equal to PV is equal to nRT. So I can say P is equal to nRT by V. I can substitute it here. So I can say nRT by V into V to the power of gamma is equal to constant. So nR is constant. So I will have the equation as T into V to the power of gamma minus 1 is constant. So I can use any of these equations. So for example, if I ask you a question that temperature T1 is, let's say, 1000 Kelvin, volume V1 is 1 liter, temperature T2 is what? I have asked you in an adiabatic process, V2 is 8 liters and gamma is 1.66. So can I say T1 V1 to the power of gamma minus 1 is T2 V2 to the power of gamma minus 1? What is T1? 1000. What is V1? 1. This is 8. Gamma minus 1 is 0.66. This will be T2. So if you will check, this value will come out to be T2 is equal to 1000 by 4, which is 250 Kelvin. Because 0.6 is nothing but 2 by 3. You can solve this. So they might ask you some question on the basis of this. I think it is pretty straightforward. You can do these questions. Yes or no? Shall we proceed? Suppose I give you this question as homework. Okay. This is your homework. What is the question? This is your question. You are given a PV curve. This is pressure. This is volume. You have this as graph number 1. You have this as graph number 2. Which amongst 1 and 2 are isothermal and adiabatic? So you have to tell me amongst 1 and 2 which is isothermal, which is adiabatic, and how. The how is very important. So you try this. I will solve this in the next class. This is your homework. Okay. Shall we proceed, guys? Next question. One is isothermal. Why? The answer is, the question is why? Why? Okay. Zeroth law of thermodynamics pretty simple. Let's say you have A. Let's say you have B. And you have C. I say A and B are in thermal equilibrium. So if A and B are in thermal equilibrium, can I say that temperature of A is equal to temperature of B? So basically between these two I can say that temperature of A is equal to temperature of B. This is given. So if A and B are in thermal equilibrium and A and C are in thermal equilibrium, this means that TA is equal to TC. So basically I am saying that they are in thermal equilibrium. According to zeroth law of thermodynamics, then B and C are also in thermal equilibrium. That is, TB is equal to TC. I think this is pretty straightforward. If the temperature of A is equal to B and temperature of A is equal to C, then temperature of B is equal to C. Is it not simple? So I think zeroth law of thermodynamics like pretty straightforward. Okay. Shall we proceed, guys? Shall we proceed? Shall we proceed, guys? Perfect. What is first law of thermodynamics? The first law of thermodynamics states that energy can neither be created, I think we have started this in class 5, nor be destroyed, can only transform from one form to another. So what do I mean by this? Mathematically, this means that the change in internal energy delta U, this is change in internal energy, no, because PV to the power of gamma, how will you know it is more slope? No. No, 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 no. Not that straightforward, KE. You have to derive it. It is not straightforward. So delta U is change in internal energy, Q is heat, and this is work done. Now listen to me carefully. In the next 3 classes, we will be doing complete analysis of delta U, complete analysis of W, complete analysis of Q. So we will do a complete post-mortem of this. No. KE, what you are saying is incorrect. Okay. Let me put it this way. What you are saying is incorrect. Work on it. It is not straightforward as you are mentioning it to be. You have to differentiate it to get the slope. Okay. I have given you the hint now. Try to solve it. So this is something which is of utmost importance, which we'll be covering in the next 3 lectures completely to understand the first law only. But some sign conventions. So for heat, the sign conventions for physics and chemistry are same. What is the sign convention? Heat given to the system is positive, and heat given by the system is negative. So for example, if I say 20 kilojoule of heat is given to the system, that means Q is equal to plus 20 kilojoule. If I say 20 kilojoule of heat is given by the system, then I can say that Q is equal to minus 20 kilojoule. Simple enough. Now the convention of work in chemistry is just opposite to that of physics. So I'm marking it with star. We will also cover it in the next class. Work done by the gas. So if the work is done by the gas is basically pushing. So basically it is going to be expansion. So work done by the gas is negative, or expansion work is negative. If I say work done on the gas, it is compression because the gas is being pushed. So work is done on the gas. So now it is going to be positive. So for example, if I say 20 kilojoule of work is done by the gas, so I can say work is minus 20 kilojoule. If I say 20 kilojoule of work is done on the gas, then I will say that work is plus 20 kilojoule. Any doubts till now? For this question, I can just give you a hint if you want. See, the slope is, so for isothermal, the equation is PV is equal to constant. And for adiabatic, the equation is PV to the power of gamma is equal to constant. Let's say K dash. So slope is dP by dV. So now find dP by dV. This is your homework. Okay. I have given you a hint. Now think about it. So I think I have covered whatever is to be covered. in the first lecture. Any doubts till now? Nitin, Ke, Sai. So this chapter is actually a very step-by-step chapter. So in the next class, we will be deriving all the concepts related to work only. So work done in any possible case you can think of. In the next lecture, we will be doing the derivation of U and H in all the possible cases. And in the next lecture, we will be doing the first law of thermodynamics related problems. So you will be having a lot of sessions specifically for small concepts. Okay. So what I would like you to do now is go home. Actually, you are at home. Revise all the concepts which are being taught today. And for the next class, please come prepared after doing your DPP, revising these concepts. Total there are 10 sessions. Okay, Nitin. So before you come for the next class, make sure that you revise what is being taught to you today. Only then it will make sense for you to attend the next class, because everything in thermo is connected. So I understand. Yes, that's fine. You revised it in the first thing in the morning. That is perfectly fine. But understand that, a lot of us have wasted a lot of time unknowingly. So now we have the time to make some amends. So I request all of you to use this, especially these kind of sessions properly, because thermo is one chapter which will be used in ionic equilibrium, it will be used in chemical equilibrium, it will be used in electrochemistry, it will be used in Ellingham diagrams in metallurgy. So thermo is one thing which you cannot skip at all. So that is the reason we are choosing thermo, because a lot of kids who have missed it in 11th unknowingly, or due to some legitimate reason, they don't suffer in 12th just because they don't know thermodynamics. Similarly, the same thing holds for GOC as well. DPP, SK, basically if you will see the lecture, you will have the lecture content. I will just tell you the exact thing. Just a second. Just give me 1 second. I'll tell you exactly. You go to past live lessons, and in past live lessons, in just below the watch recording, okay, just below the watch recording, okay, just below the watch recording session, you will get the DPP, the lecture notes, everything. Okay, SK, I hope I was able to help all of you. I had a great time, and I hope all of you benefit out of this lecture immensely. I'll see you again in the next class. The next class will be on Monday at 8 p.m. I'll see you then. Please stay safe and happy learning. Bye.
For detailed videos, daily practice problems and live chat, visit academy.amazon.in or download the app.